hello everybody. I'm Bonnie Barker with Bonnie Bay Crochet, and I have a very special guest today. I want you to meet my friend Karen Whooley. I'm saying that right, Karen? With
Yes,
the W. And
yeah.
she's out in Washington State, and I'm just going to let her have the forum here. And if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, Karen, where you live, maybe your family, just.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now I live in the state of Washington, but I was born and raised in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. So all my family's there with the exception of maybe a few people. But I live in the south central portion of Washington where the Yakima, the Columbia, and the Snake Rivers meet. So we've got this beautiful port area that's got all these rivers and boating and all that kind of stuff. And it's considered the high desert of Washington. So the temperatures, I'm learning all about the temperatures because I lived in the Seattle area for 20 years prior to moving here. So, but I am married. My husband and I have been married 31 years, David. And, actually, I have show and tell too. So this is my family.
Oh.
I'm going to try to move it so you can see. So my husband, David, my son, Tyler, in the bright blue suit, and then my daughter, Cassandra, and her new husband. She just got married in September. Her new husband, Bryce. So we've got new family. And my son is 25. Cassie is 23.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the easy way to add to your family, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a son-in-law or a daughter-in-law.
Yeah. And he's great. We love him. So we're excited to have him in the family. And they live only 2 hours north of us.
Oh, that's
my
fantastic.
son lives 5 hours away on the coast of Washington. He's a school teacher over there. So we don't get to see him that often, but we see Cassie and Bryce every once in a while now.
Yeah.
As far as my education, I think you mentioned that. I actually have a degree in management information. Well, it's business administration, management information systems from California State University at Chico. I was a computer science major, and then it was too intensive. So I switched to business, which actually the management information systems part of it is databases and coding and stuff like that. So before I had kids, I used to work for a company that designed software for dental offices. And I was actually one of the first, I don't know what the word is, coder, I guess. I don't know what they call them now. We used to call them coders back then, who actually was able to take the dental software and actually transmit via modem the insurance forms. So that I was one of the first people that wrote that software to do that. So so I have a computer brain. I love computers. I love tech. But when I was pregnant with my son, we decided that we wanted me to be a stay-at-home mom. So after I went on maternity leave early because I was so sick with him. But as soon as he was born and I brought him in, I turned in my resignation and I haven't looked back. So
turned mom and crochet designer, huh?
Right. Well, I could actually combine my love of computers by designing my own website. And I mean, even when I first started, I wrote the code for my own blog and things like that. So
I'm trying not to be envious of those skills.
My skills are rusty these days. Everything's plug and play now, it seems like.
That would have been handy. I'm relying on my children for those kinds. Used to for those kinds of things until they got married and moved away, and so now we're working on it.
I understand that.
Constant change is here to stay, as far as that goes. Wow. Well, that's great. So how long have you been working as a crochet designer?
Well, I sold my very first pattern to Annie's. Actually, it was Annie's Attic back then in 1998 was my first pattern that I sold. It was shortly after my daughter was born, because it was the same year she was born. And I met I don't know if your followers would know Terry Kimbrough. She's a big designer with Leisure Arts, and she does a lot of thread work, and she does a lot of
Mhm.
baby items and things. I have a drawer full of her books, and I met her online, and she saw my blog, and she
Hmm.
saw what I was doing. And then I was a part of a group called Crochet Partners that was on CompuServe, believe it or not, way back in the day.
That was before I had a
Um,
computer, to be
and
honest. Yeah.
and then they eventually moved to Yahoo groups, but they were CompuServe where I first found them. And she was working for Leisure Arts, and she's the one who
Hmm.
told me you need to send what you're doing over there.
Oh,
So I did, and the very first project I sent them, they bought.
that
So
is cool. So
yeah.
that was connected with Annie somehow,
Oh,
or
well, no, she told me to start with Annie's because of the way I was doing a lot of worsted weight. And at that time, um, Leisure Arts was more fingering weight, baby clothes, and I was doing a lot of worsted weight things back then. So she's recommended going to Annie's
oh,
first.
yeah, it's interesting the connection with Leisure Arts because that was my first inroads into publication as well. But that
Yeah.
was like 2008, 2009. It's little ways after that. But
Yeah. Well, the pattern, this is the interesting part, is I sold the pattern in 1998, but it wasn't published until 2000.
yeah, there's quite a I try to
It
explain
took
that
that
this
long back then.
right. I try to explain that to people sometimes because the work that I did in 2008 and 2009 didn't see publication till 2010. And so by the
Yeah.
time these patterns go to press, and when people ask me questions about it, it's like, wait a minute, that was like ancient history. Let me go back in
Yes.
time and try to wrap my head around this again. And now people are asking me questions about like patterns that are 10 years old and beyond, and I can't just give you the stitch counts. It's like no.
No,
um
you have to go pull out of your file and
yeah,
read it again just to
yeah,
remember what you did. Yeah.
yeah, and some of those are so old they're not even on my current computer. It's just
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to think. I think we had a family computer at the time that I was typing this. Of course, now everybody's got to have their own equipment
Yeah.
to
Oh yeah.
survive. But back then it was, you scheduled time on it and booted somebody else off of it so you can do your work. But
Yeah.
wow, yeah.
Yeah. Mine was during my kids' nap times or when they were at school when they got older. Yeah.
Well, I just thank God that I did not have a cell phone like we do now, or any kind of social media or any of that when my kids were young, because I would like to think that I would have been self-controlled with it, but I just don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
glad that none of this happened until after they were, adults.
Yeah. No, I agree. I
So
agree.
I'm like, phew, that would have been hard. Well,
Yeah.
so when did you actually first? Well, let me ask you this: you do knit and crochet, correct?
I do knit and crochet. Yes.
Now, do you publish knitting or mostly crochet?
No. I started to design in knitting, and there are too many other knit designers out there that do it far better than I do.
Yeah, that's
So I
yeah.
mean, I've been crocheting, I figured it out today, 48 years. And it's
Because you started years before you were born, right? That's
right.
what I tell people.
Exactly. Yes.
I
Yes.
was crocheting in the womb, It was like
Yes, exactly.
when I rattle off those numbers, because I yeah, but anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No. No, yeah, no, it's funny because I learned to crochet in 1974 from my nonna, my Italian grandmother. In fact, I have a picture of her too.
Oh, so sweet.
That's my grandparents together. That actually the week before my husband and I got married, that was their 60th anniversary, wedding
Oh,
anniversary. And
I know
so
you
that's
talk
my
a lot
nonna.
about. I know you talk a lot about her in your shawl book. I don't know if you have it there to show people,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
isn't that the one where you talk extensively about?
Oh no, that is the last book. This is my modern Italian lace crochet. I have a
Yes.
lot about her in his one. Yeah, she's
Okay.
um yeah, that's
Can you show me the front of the book again? Because I know people might want to see that.
Yeah, that's Modern Italian. That was published in 2020. It's the last book I published, self-published.
Hmm.
Um,
And those are available on Amazon.
it is available on Amazon. It's available if you want signed copies. I have them in my store, and you can buy them. Let's see, it's on my website. You can get a print copy signed or a PDF version. On Amazon, you can get the print or the Mobi files for Kindle, but it's also available on Apple, Kobo, Barnes and Noble, all those e-reader stores as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, just to let people know, I'll put all those links in the magic video description below, so you don't have to worry about fetching them, and we will have those there below for you. So you can get in touch with Karen should you be interested in doing that. So, but you do some knitting, I guess, then just kind of on your own.
Yeah, well, when my grandmother taught me to crochet, I was 7. And then shortly after my nonna taught me to crochet, my other grandmother, my dad's mom, wanted me to learn to knit. So she tried to teach me to knit, and she would not teach me to purl until I could knit garter stitch without dropping a stitch at all. Well, I'm 7 years old. That's not going to happen.
And some high hopes there.
Yeah, so I gave up trying to learn to knit with my grandmother, and then she passed away when I was 9 years old. So I never, got any more lessons from her. But my mother-in-law tried to teach me to knit. I tried to take classes, at shops, and it wasn't until I was 37 years old. So 30 years between the time I learned to crochet and I learned to knit, because I finally found a shop that taught continental knitting so that the yarn was in the same hand as I do with crochet. Yes. And as soon as she taught me how to knit and purl, the very first project I did, besides, like making a square for her, is I knit my husband a sweater that he still wears.
That's fantastic. I am just finishing up. I am not finishing. I am 2/3 the way through my very first knit sweater.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned just maybe 5 years ago. And again, had tried just like you. And I always try to tell people it's continental is, as they say, is the bomb, because if you're a crocheter, it's such an easy transition. I mean, there's gonna a little bit of muscle memory you have to kind of catch on to, like the way you wrap it might be a little different, but it is, at least when it's a little different. I had to learn to overcome that. So
yeah. And one of the things that helped me with increasing my knitting was learning to nook. This is knitting with the crochet hook. Leisure Arts I did several books for Leisure Arts on nooking. And when I was living on the west side of the state, I used to teach nooking classes at my local yarn shop, which converted a lot of crocheters into knitters as well, because they could figure out the wraps and way the stitches were, and that, how they all came together. And then when they moved to needles, it totally changed their experience. So
people have asked me a lot about Tunisian crochet, and I'm like, there are just like what you said about knitting, there are so many other people out there that are doing it far better than I will ever do it. Go watch them. Partly because I like knitting so much better. I've tried the Tunisian, and I'm not trying to throw it under the bus or anything. It has its place. It's beautiful, but life is just too short to do.
Well, nooking is actually even more different than Tunisian. It's literally, you are actually functionally making knit stitches. It's not the Tunisian stitches. It's actually, but it's just with a crochet hook, and then it's got a long cable. So I do teach Tunisian classes, but I don't design a whole lot in it, because there's a lot, I love traditional crochet. That's what my nonna taught me. She was, she learned it from her grandmother in Italy. So I have the Italian, background, and that's what I love. So.
And there's so much that can be done, and so much more to be discovered, even just with the basic crochet stitches. I'm just loving doing that. But well, So you learned to crochet when you were 7.
Yes, in fact, I brought my first crochet hook
Oh,
ever. This
wow.
is the one my nonna gave me. It's an old H in plastic. I don't use it anymore, but I have it on my desk. It's kind of like my reminder
Hmm.
of, what she taught me. And I had my first project too. The same day, what she did is she gave me yarn and that hook, and she taught me how to chain, single crochet, double crochet, and triple crochet. And then she made me cover a coat hanger
Oh, wow.
with double crochet. This is like 1970s yarn. And you can see, I'm trying to find the end. This is the side we started. And you can see where she started me.
Hmm.
And then you can see all my sloppy stitches and how I got loose down in here. And then I started to get better as I got over here. She taught me how to change colors all in one day. I learned all of
Wow.
this in one day. And then she showed me how to seam it. And you can see again, I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
Let me find. Yeah, hers, this is where she started. And then here's where I it was just whip stitch,
Yeah, I
but
was gonna say
it
that's
was
what it
just
looked like. Yeah.
something. And then she had me wrap the handle or
I'm
the
glad she
hang.
had you going back and forth instead of trying to crochet in circles around that thing. That would
Right,
have been a beast.
right.
But
And this
wow.
had been in my mom's closet forever. This was a gift from my mom. And then she finally gave it to me so that I can have it as a, as a reminder of where I came from. And then the next time I saw her, which is, she lived only like 20 minutes away from us. So I used to see her at least once a week, if not every other week, depending on our schedules. But the next time I saw her, she gave me a size 6 steel crochet hook and size 10 cotton. And I learned Italian lace. And that's what I did for probably like 5 years, just doilies and things that she learned from her grandmother, things that she did, because when she was in Italy, she was born in San Francisco. Her father lost his business in 1903 or 1906 with the earthquake. She was born in 1903. He lost his business in the earthquake of 1906. So they went back to Italy. And so she grew up in Italy. And her grandmother taught her, because that's what Italian girls learned back then, was they all learned how to crochet. And so she made the altar cloths in her church. She would crochet pieces for a local theater group. She did, doilies, tablecloths, all sorts of stuff. So
That is so cool. Yeah, I mean, a lot of women and girls, we didn't have TV or
yes,
anything. You had to, I mean, you have looking out the window, it's just gray sky. You have these long winters, and what do? It's too cold to get outside. You stay in and you do crafts with your hands, and
yeah. And she
everybody.
never went to school. I mean, I think she had 1 year of school. Yeah, I think that was all. I have to ask my mom if she remembers, but 1 year of school. And so she basically learned all the homemaking skills.
Wow. Well, do you have hobbies outside of the fiber arts that you?
Outside of the fiber arts? I do. I love reading. I'm a big reader. I also love gardening, especially now that we have a new backyard. I'm having fun filling, because we've only been here a year now. I'm filling in plants, and I have Dave built me some vegetable beds, raised beds for vegetables. So this summer I'm hoping to have that kind of thing.
Well, I
I
have to
used to
ask.
be a runner, but I don't
Oh,
run
wow.
anymore.
Yeah, I
So
wanted to ask you, thinking of the plants and things, because the one time I was out in Washington State, I mean, we were visiting with a friend in Seattle, and then I was actually pregnant with Becky. So that was more than 30 years ago. And then we drove across the state to Richland to
yeah, that's
visit,
where I am.
really, to visit a friend. And he had a big problem with tumbleweeds. Do you have
Oh yeah.
tumbleweeds? I mean, I just watched a video on that my son was watching, and oh my goodness, what a problem.
No, in fact, this fall we had, because Richland, where you were, is actually part of the Tri-Cities, and it's
Okay.
Richland and Pasco, where I live,
Hmm.
and then Kennewick. And this fall, my husband actually, we have a Facebook Messenger group with my kids, and my husband found online or in the news or somewhere this photo of our Walmart just like a mile away. with full all the way to the doorways with all the tumbleweeds from that day because we had a big windstorm. I mean, they had to hire extra people to come and dig them out of
Wow.
Walmart.
Well, there's a video if you get a chance on YouTube. I can send you the link about how they got here. And it started with one seed, and just how prolific those things are. It's pretty scary, but they're doing some really cool research. That's another conversation, but they're doing some really cool research on unlocking their genome so they can maybe use some of the benefits of the rapidity and growth and all. If they could apply that somehow,
Oh, wow. That
to
would be
something
cool.
good.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, it's
But
funny too, because my daughter went to college on this side of the state. So when we would come for like mom's weekend or dad's weekend, that was the thing about driving over here 5 or 6 hours, was watching for the tumbleweeds once we got to a certain part of the state.
yeah, wow.
It's just that, yeah.
It's just
It's
another
something I'm
world.
not used
It's another world because we don't have anything like that I'm aware of. And
Well, I never grew up with that. If Seattle doesn't have them and California doesn't have them, at least where I was. So
Mhm.
they were kind of
Yeah.
weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
What, getting back to the crochet, this is just, we just have to get together and have lunch or something. I don't know, somewhere in the middle of the country and meet you halfway.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you going to be going to New Orleans in July? If you
No,
No, okay.
no. With my treatments, I had to cancel everything until I know I have the green light. So,
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're
oh, yeah.
talking about, what you're dealing with?
Yeah, in January of 2021, I was diagnosed with bladder cancer. And I had surgery almost probably 2 weeks to the day of the diagnosis to have the tumors removed.
Oh my goodness.
And then ever since then, so I had to heal for 6 weeks, and then I had to do a full course of immunotherapy, which is really nice. It's a treatment that they actually put inside the bladder, and it's non-systemic. And I had to do 6 weeks solid of that. And then the tumors didn't come back. So now I'm I'm going to start the third of 4 maintenance treatments over the year. So I started my first treatments of maintenance in July, and I won't have the all clear until July or August of this year.
Okay.
So far so good. I was just at the doctor, and I'm still cancer free, so I can do my treatments. If the tumors come back during this treatment, I have to have surgery again, and then we have to start the process all over again. But so far, in fact, she told me I was pristine, so that's a good word to hear.
I like that word. Yeah.
You're nervous like that.
Well, we have a lot of praying people on our channel, so if you all can just pray for Karen.
I would, yes. In fact, that's what I've been asking for, lots of prayers. Even though I've been cancer free, I just want to stay that way, please, Lord. So, yes.
I imagine that changes perspective a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only 55, and it's like no one in my family has ever had anything this serious until they were past 60. So like my parents were in an uproar, my cousins, my sister, my kids, I scared the kids half to death, so so it's kind of weird facing your mortality when when you think that, oh, I've got another 10, 15 years before I have to worry about, something like that. Because we really, the only cancer in my family has been lymphoma, and my nonna that taught me to crochet had lymphoma in her 80s.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You just never know. I think too, all of us having come through this pandemic and having lost loved ones during, just like, you dying of a cold, basically, a very terrible one. And you just don't know. It's just but thanks for being open with us on that, because I know there are people out there watching who facing similar challenges, and just
Oh,
maybe be
yes. And,
encouraged. Yeah.
and like I've mentioned before, at the beginning, I didn't want to talk about it, but now I feel like I've learned just from being honest with my followers on YouTube and Instagram, talking about it has helped so many people. So that's kind of,
Mhm.
I'm not afraid to talk about it anymore.
Well, thank
And I
you.
pray a lot. I pray a lot.
That is, yeah, I mean, that's great. So do you have anything that inspires you, um, that helps in your creativity, to come up with these crochet designs?
Um, in the past, when I was first starting as a designer, things I would see, like I do have a pattern that's one of Annie's catalogs way back had, that was inspired by a tie-dye t-shirt that I saw at a store.
Oh, cool.
I had, sometimes nature will, there'll be something cool, wet colors that come together.
Mhm.
Or even, I'll be out. We used to hike a little bit with the kids when they were younger, and I'd see something and it would just trigger something, whether it was a stitch pattern or an idea or something.
Mhm.
But now that I've been in the business for so long, it seems like to me more is um it's the yarn that talks to me. I mean, I can find a hank of yarn and look at the colors, especially now with all the cool hand dyes that are out
Oh,
there.
my goodness.
And
Yeah.
I can picture it. And I don't know if it's because my nonna taught me, I don't know, I didn't mention this earlier. When she taught me to crochet, she does not speak English at all. So
Oh,
I learned all my stitches in Italian, but then I would buy patterns at the store and she couldn't read an English pattern. So we would take a magnifying glass and we would just what we call reverse engineer the picture. And, and then I changed things, because I didn't like this edge. And so we would come up with something else. And so I'm self-taught in writing patterns and reading patterns and all that kind of thing. But I think because of the way I learned to crochet, and my nonna died in 1992, so she never saw me do any of this business at all, be a designer or anything. So but I channel her a lot, because I'll be working on something and I'll be talking to her saying, tell me what I'm supposed to do here. And sometimes I think she hears me, because then all of a sudden it comes, but that's kind of the way it is with yarn. It's like, I just can see it now. It's like,
mhm.
I don't know if it's my computer brain. I don't know if it's the way she taught me, combination of everything, but like the sweater back here, I mean,
Mhm.
literally the color of the yarn spoke to me and told me what it wanted to be.
Oh,
So
that is cool. And there's so much, like you say, so much more yarn now and available to us than when we first started. I mean, I didn't know there was anything besides acrylic yarn. I didn't even know what acrylic yarn meant when I was a kid. It was just the only yarn that anybody had. But
yeah,
now it's like the smorgasbord of color and fibers and pricings and
right. Well, I never even heard of a local yarn shop until
um,
probably 99, 2000, maybe. I had no idea.
or even if I had when I was younger and as a kid, I probably would have just died of sticker shock anyway at the time.
Yes.
But now I get it. I mean, I'm wearing a poncho that I made years ago. It's 100%, baby alpaca, and it's keeping
Yeah.
me nice and warm in the cold weather. And it's yeah, I mean, I get it now. It just took a while to understand why would I pay that much. But if you want something to last and last and bless
Yeah.
you, that's
That's
why.
one of the big lessons I learned working in a local yarn shop was the difference between buying a really nice yarn for a sweater versus just going to Walmart or wherever and getting Red Heart in the sport weight or something.
Yeah.
The last, how long it lasts, less pilling, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And just
And I
just
try to
looking.
teach that to
Yeah.
people. Or
Yeah.
looking
And
at it.
just, yeah, I mean, and we're not knocking Red Heart at all. I mean,
No, no, no,
don't hear us say that. It's just that,
no.
I go to that maybe a time or two now. for the big family room blankets and things, but I would never make a sweater. I mean, not anymore.
Oh no, I use the Red Hearts and the Lion Brands and the
No.
Karen yarns, all for, especially baby items and children's clothing. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing better. I mean, like my grandmother used to say, is that certain types of yarns are good. Thread is good for one thing and yarn is good for another thing. It's the same thing. Acrylic is got its things. And
yeah, that's for the washer and dryer continuously.
Yeah.
Save your cashmere for something a little better, or something
exactly.
special for the special moments of life. Yeah. Well, do you have a favorite design, or maybe even a leaflet that I'm looking for something that's your favorite of your work so far?
I've been thinking about that, and it's really hard. It's kind of like picking your favorite child.
I understand.
It's really hard to say that. Usually with patterns themselves, it's usually my latest pattern, whatever's coming out. But I think the one I'm most proud of, I would say, is probably modern Italian lace crochet. I mean, just because it's something that I wanted to do, I don't know, forever, because I learned all of these stitches that I used in these patterns were from stitch dictionaries from Italy that were my grandmother's.
Oh, wow.
It's, and if there's some of them were modified a little bit to make them more yarn friendly rather than thread friendly. But they are, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like, a lot of people say I give my grandmother too much credit for what she did, but one of her things to me was, when she was teaching me to crochet, was that she said, I had given you a skill and I want you to do something with it. And even though she didn't get to see me as a designer, I feel like I need to pass that on, what she taught me. And so this literally encompasses most of the things that she taught me. It may not be everything, but the stitches, how to put things together, all sorts of stuff. Even weaving in ends, that kind of thing. So
that's huge.
It's my tribute to her, and I guess that's why I'm so proud of it, because I finally have a physical way to say thank you, even though she's not here to see it.
Well, as I always talk about in our family, in our church, on that day you'll be able to.
Oh yeah.
So exciting. Yeah.
Well,
do you have a favorite crochet gift you've received from anybody?
Again, this is going to my nonna. When my nonna passed away, my mom and my aunt had to go through their house, even though my grandfather was still alive. She went through their house and got rid of stuff, because eventually he ended up in a assisted living place. And they found, I had no idea this was even around until they gave it to me. But this is, again, show and tell. This is the note that she wrote to my mom and my aunt about what it is. And I'll talk about that in a second.
Wow.
But this is a bedspread.
Oh my goodness. Is it thread?
It's a bedspread. I'm not going to open it up all the way, but it's done in size 10 thread from Italy. Oh my goodness. And it'll cover a full-size bed with it hanging, almost touching the floor. Okay. Wow. And it's done in squares that she joined. I don't know if you guys can see it, but here's the joins right here. You can see the eyelets. That is gorgeous. Oh my goodness. The number of stitches. Well, that's the cool part of it, is that the note says that she made it with her own hands. I'm going to translate it. I'm not going to read it in Italian, because I always stumble when I read it and I start to cry. Okay. My Italian's a little rusty at the moment, non-existent. So go ahead. Yeah. So I made this with my own hands when I was a girl in Italy in 1928. and finished it in 1929 when let me see if I can remember when I arrived in America
Oh,
on
wow.
the 29th of May in 1929. So she literally started it on the ground in Italy in 1928. That's when my grandfather sent for her to come marry him, because he was in Italy. He grew up in Italy. His is a whole other story. But he was born here, went to Italy because he lost his dad, and then came back to the States to make money for his family because he was the oldest son. And he worked for my grandmother's father. So that's how they met. And so he came to the United States, got a job, relearned English, and then sent for her to come marry him, asked her father, all the things.
Yeah.
And so and back then they didn't have, they didn't have the money to fly in a plane. And I don't think they even did transcontinental flights back
No.
then.
It was probably boat. It had to have been
Yeah.
because
So that was exactly what she went through, the boat, but they didn't have the Panama Canal quite finished to where this boat could go through. So she had to go around the Horn of South America to end up landing in San Francisco.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was either Ellis Island or San Francisco, I would think, for immigration way back then,
So
right?
she started this
Wow.
in 1928 before she left. She left in 1928 and she got here in May of 1929.
Oh,
And
man.
she had just finished it when she got off the boat. So it's kind of one of those special things. It's still in a bag because I don't know how to display it. But this is my favorite crochet. Honestly, people have given me, when I had my cancer diagnosis, people have given me crocheted angels, but this will always be.
Yeah. Oh, that just gives me goosebumps to think of her on that probably steamship, all the way around the Horn of Africa. And
yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So that's my favorite.
Keep it safe. Yeah. Keep it. Yeah.
I'd like to get like a quilt hanger thing and maybe put it up on a wall rather than put it on a bed, because we have animals too. And I just don't want it to get, and it's still, look at how white this is.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. You might want to be careful about that plastic too, in case it,
well, there's some blue paper that I usually
wrap. Okay, the bluing paper. Yeah, that'll protect it from any of the other in there.
Still, it's almost 100 years old and it's still almost the exact same color it was when it hasn't yellowed that much at all.
Wow, that's gorgeous. So where would you like to take your crochet business from here? Are you just wondering if you have any new adventures that you want to share with us, and if not, that's okay.
Well, I do have some new adventures happening this year, and hopefully, as the years progress, I have ideas and things that I'd like to do. My biggest thing is building community within the crochet community. When I learned to crochet, I was the only crocheter I knew. And then when my nonna died, it was like there's nobody other than her, and with all the things that are going on in the world with the pandemic and being shut in, it feels like the community that we have built kind of got cut off. Zoom is there, but it's not the same. And, and we do have online classes and things like that, but I'd like to build a community with people who like my designs, like my patterns, like my classes, that kind of thing. So first of all, my followers call themselves Team Hooligan. So as a play on my last name. So we are Team Hooligan. But one of the things I started this year is I have a pattern club and I have an online forum. And so that's starting to pick up where the people who join the pattern club's closed right now. It'll reopen in July for new members. But it's, even though we just started this first month, the conversations are already happening and the things like that. But in July, I'm opening a membership site, which will include the pattern club, but it's also going to include, discounts on classes. I'm going to be doing a lot of crochet alongs. I'm going to be doing virtual. Um, right now with my cancer, I can't go anywhere, so I have to do virtual retreats, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And then once I get the all clear, I want to plan a Team Hooligan retreat somewhere here in Washington, probably.
That's a great
Um,
idea.
and just do, I'd like to bring in other teachers if I can for stuff like that. Do mystery crochet alongs, do all sorts of different things, just because it feels like there's just not community anymore. And I want to bring that back, that
Yeah.
feeling back.
Yeah, I can't wait to get on a plane and go somewhere, just anywhere. I mean,
I know.
I have gone places, but not on a plane. Just back and forth, caring for a loved one in South Carolina. But that's been a blessing to be able to do that. But that said, I just want to get out and meet more, meet these people that we've met during the online stuff. And the idea of a retreat, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I've thought about that too. I thought if I was a millionaire, I think I'm going to buy up a bed and breakfast somewhere at a fantastic location and let's just do weekend retreats, and
Yeah.
that can
Well,
dream awfully big, bigger than my wallet. So
one of my good friends over on the west side of the state, she just opened up I'm going to call it a retreat house, for lack of a better word, craft retreat house. She's always had rental properties, and one of the rental properties she's literally turned into a place where people can, so like a teacher like me can say, I'm going to hold classes here. They can sleep 8 people in there. The craft room can seat, I think, up to 20, if I remember correctly. So I'm kind of hoping that, maybe in the fall, when I get the all clear, that I can schedule something for early 2023 to actually have a real
face to face, not Facebook, but
yeah,
real face to face. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that would
Even if
be.
it's just a weekend of relaxing and just crocheting, and I'm not teaching anything, just,
Yeah.
you know.
That's the thing I've even thought about. Oh, it would be so much fun to go on a crochet cruise. But then again, after being stuck in for 2.5 years or more, I'll bring the crochet just to say it's a crochet cruise, but I think I'll leave that in the cabin. And I just want to get out and
Oh
talk
yeah.
with people and
Yeah.
hug on people and
Yeah.
just go shopping in places I've never been, just, different
Yeah.
ports. I've never been on a cruise. I've just seen, the Love Boat and pictures and heard from
Yeah.
friends, but
Yeah.
um,
My mother-in-law's a big cruiser, so we get to see a lot of, her pictures and all that stuff. So Dave and I keep saying
yeah.
eventually,
Well, I
someday.
got keep your fingers crossed, because my husband and I were supposed to go on one, and it would leave Rome. So it's flying to Italy and getting on a boat and sailing the Mediterranean. It's a trip with a ministry, Ligonier Ministries, that I highly respect, and it's a teaching tour, but they will mimic the missionary journeys of the Apostle Paul.
Oh,
And
I want to go on that.
well, we were supposed to do it 2020, but it's been rescheduled 3 times.
I'm
But
sure.
it may happen in the fall if the world is still here. We're hoping.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know. But
If they ever allow us to do this,
yeah, we're probably going to have to be walking around in hazmat suits. I don't know. But Israel now they're allowing people, under certain conditions, to enter. So that's a big green light. So we're
Yeah,
looking forward.
I just saw that last night on the news. The Greek Orthodox Church celebrated yesterday, I think it is, the baptism of Jesus, and they had a walking tour, and I saw it on a show where they were, but it wasn't as many people as normal, but they wanted to say, hey, Israel's open.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that, to get to go to the Holy Lands. But if it happens, and if not, I'm okay with that too. Is there one thing, getting back to crochet again, I just love talking with you. If there one thing that you would like to create that you haven't yet, either something practical or absolutely off the wall crazy?
I think in all the years that I've been crocheting, I probably tried everything within reason. I mean, reasonably, that as a Christian woman I would do. Um, I mean, back in the day, this is one of the craziest things that I had to crochet is I was self-publishing some patterns, and I did a trade with a photographer who worked for Nordstrom's.
Oh, wow.
And he asked me, he said for every hour of crochet I did for him for props, he would do an hour of photography for me.
Ooh.
And he had been in it, like Martha Stewart's magazines. He's been all over in his photography. So I jump on at the chance. Well, he asked me to crochet a pair of mohair women's underwear that were kind of like boy short style. So they were long. It wasn't like things were hanging out, but it was like, so that was crazy. That's the craziest thing I've ever done. But anything that I haven't done, I'm trying to think. The only thing I've always wanted to do, and it's because a friend of mine did this a while ago, and I just haven't done it yet, is because she was talking to somebody and they said, oh, you can't crochet with wire and you can't crochet with this. And she's like, no, 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 you can do this. And so she actually boiled spaghetti and crocheted with spaghetti. And I thought, I'm Italian and I never even thought of that.
Huh.
So,
Wow.
and I've never done it, but that's something I've always thought, maybe just to see what it would do.
Well, let me know how you join the yarn, because you're going to need to do a lot of joins, unless you just do like short rows. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't
Wow.
know. I don't know how she did it. She just did it. And she had like a square about this big.
Or if you can make your own spaghetti and not cut it, that would be the thing.
Oh, that's true too. I could
You
probably
can
do
get
that.
some handmade and just say, just continuous thread. Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be kind of fun just because I'm Italian and, pasta, but
I'm all for
but
pasta, man.
I have tried. I think I've done amigurumis. I've done, the only thing I haven't designed, I guess I should say is maybe I haven't designed a doily myself, out of thread. I've done like lace edgings and things like that, but I've never done a doily from start to finish that's my design. But I don't know that I want to do that because that's really not the wheelhouse I'm in anymore.
How about a crochet dress? Have you ever done a crochet dress
I
before?
haven't done a crochet dress. That I haven't done. That would actually be pretty cool.
I did one. I really enjoyed doing it, but I combined it with chiffon fabric. And for a sewer like me, that was probably an ambitious decision. But it was one of those things that if I ever had to write it all down, I could not get it. Our friend, let's say a crochet former publisher asked me, oh, we can sew, sell this, or, I want you to write this down. And I'm just like, honey,
No.
there is no way I can even remember what I did here. I'm such an amateur when it comes to sewing. It's like, no.
I did. Yeah, no. I did when my kids were in elementary school, the school had auctions. And one year I did a combination crocheted sewed quilts with the kids.
Well, Karen, do you have anything that you want to share with us about patterns or designs that are coming out?
Well, this year, 2022, gosh, I almost said 2021 again. I actually am releasing 18 patterns. 12 of them are in my pattern club, but they will slowly start being released. The pattern club gets them first for 6 months, and then starting in July, January's will come out, February's will come out, that kind of thing. But then I have 6 additional patterns, this one being the first one coming out January 25th. I didn't think about it. It's coming out next week, actually. So I don't know when.
And what's the name of that one again?
This one is called Cactus Dreams. I have a copy of the pattern here. It's called Cactus Dreams. It's an 8-page pattern. It's a cropped lace drop sleeve sweater, cardigan sweater.
Mhm.
and it's sized in 9 sizes, extra small to 5X. So I think the largest bust was, I want to say 62, but let me make sure. 64-inch bust, finished size bust.
Mhm.
So it should fit quite a few people. Um, and so that's coming out. But then I this year, what I've decided to do, the patterns that aren't in my pattern club, I am doing every other month. So my next one will be March, and then May, and then July, that kind of thing. So I'll have 6
Yeah.
patterns that are to the public immediately, and then 12 that have a 6-month gap between the pattern club getting them and the public getting them.
So now, are these already designed and ready to go, or do you kind of design as you go?
I'm actually, my cancer diagnosis in January last year,
Uh,
there was a lot of days that I wasn't feeling like doing anything but crocheting. So I literally had all 18 patterns done by the end of November.
wow.
So most of them have been photographed and tech edited. I think I have like 2 more that need tech editing. And the final photography for the final few patterns for the pattern club are being done right now. So they're actually ready to go other than layout. I mean, everything's done. All the social media for the pattern club, or not the non-pattern club patterns, is already scheduled, ready to go, newsletters, everything. So
Wow.
that was the good thing about having a cancer diagnosis, is that if I couldn't be doing other things, I could sit and crochet and
Yeah.
get things done. So the designs I'm working on now are for 2023.
Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just keep your
So,
fingers crossed that the yarn will still be available. Because I remember my first book went to press, the first full-size book. By the time it came, took 2 years from start to finish. So by the time it was available in people's hands, some of the yarn was out of,
yeah.
they're not making it anymore. So, but
Well, yeah. Well,
anyway.
the pattern club, I actually use hand dyed yarns. So I checked in with all of the designers or the dyers and
Mhm.
said, hey, is this going to be available in 2022? And they go, yeah. So every pattern club pattern I don't have to worry about. I know this is still available.
Good, good.
I think just about all of them are still going to be available this year. So hopefully.
Well, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for this time. But before we go, I need to say you have a special code set up just for my crochet friends, right? Can you tell us
Right.
what it is and what it does?
Okay, I have a special, actually, it's a URL to subscribe to my newsletter. With my newsletter, the way my newsletter works is that when you subscribe, you immediately get a free pattern. And then every year on January 1st, you get a new free pattern that's brand new for every year. So it's not something that's recycled from my catalog.
Oh,
So you'll get a free pattern. But the one thing that it doesn't do on the normal side that I'm doing especially for Bonnie's followers is that you will also get a 10% discount on your first order in my shop. So any
okay.
patterns you buy, and you can get print or digital patterns. Not all of my patterns come in print, but a good portion of them. And then all my books, whether you get them in print or in digital format, if you buy through my shop, so when you subscribe, you'll get a welcome newsletter that says, this is how you get your pattern. This is the code to use in the shop too.
Okay.
So if you're interested in learning more about me,
And you do specialize in easy, just describe what your specialty is when it comes to crochet.
my specialty is making complex looking patterns easy. So like this sweater, I mean, a lot of people are put off by sweaters because, I have to sew, or there's a lot of lace and a lot of shaping. That's not the case with this sweater. This is literally no shaping except the neckline. And I teach you how to do that in the pattern. My sweet spot is designing with lace and with the finer weight yarns, because I learned with thread. I mean, thread was my big thing back when I was learning. So fingering weight, and most of my designs will go as far as DK weight. but lace and fingering are kind of my sweet spots. But I always teach, like I'm designing a pattern right now that I'm going to teach, I'm going to have a video that goes along with it on how to change it up for different weights of yarn. So if you want bulky, if you want, lace, it changes things.
And you are on YouTube.
I am on YouTube.
So you can, okay.
Yeah.
So she's on YouTube and Instagram. And
I'm on Instagram and YouTube, Rumble. I always upload my videos to Rumble once I do my lives, because I do lives every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific time.
Which is 12 o'clock for my East Coast friends. And
then I do, I will be revamping my Facebook page. It's not quite there yet. I had gotten rid of Facebook, and when I did, they deleted my original page. And yeah, so when I went back, because I couldn't schedule my Instagram posts, I lost all my Facebook, but that'll be coming back probably in February.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. And we just wish you all the best and success. And I look forward to seeing you at some conference somewhere. Lots of yarn.
I know. I miss my people.
It's so good to see you. Well, thank you so much. And God bless.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. Okay. Bye.
Bye.